Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to tear apart a modern paranormal investigation. We're pulling back the curtain to look at the tactics, the tech, and yeah, the storytelling strategy behind a face-to-face or face-to-unseen face confrontation. All right, let's just jump right into the deep end here. We're not starting at the beginning with some spooky whispers. Nope, we're starting at a moment of crisis. The investigator isn't just looking for a ghost, they're confronting it over a very real and very expensive piece of broken equipment. And that brings us to our first section, the investigator's frustration. See, this isn't just about weird noises in the dark anymore. This so-called paranormal activity is now having a real-world financial impact, and that's seriously raising the stakes. So what are we talking about here? The piece of gear that got wrecked was a camera that originally cost between 5 and 600 pounds. I mean, that's a serious chunk of change. It's not a minor problem. It's a big financial hit that gives the investigator a powerful reason for what's about to happen. And there's no question about how bad the damage is. The investigator says it's completely knackered. You can hear things rattling around inside it. The verdict? No fixing it. So this isn't a maybe, it's a definite. The camera is toast, and that destruction is the spark that lights the fuse for the aggressive confrontation we're about to see. So what do you do when something you can't see breaks your expensive stuff? Well, you gear up. And that leads us to Section 2, the Ghost Hunter's Toolkit. Let's break down the specific tech being used here to try and capture actual visual proof of whatever's going on. A key piece of equipment here is the laser grid. You've probably seen this before. It shoots a pattern of little dots across a room, basically turning empty air into a visual tripwire. The theory is, if anything moves through that space, even a shadow, it's going to break the pattern, and you'll see it instantly. Now, this is where it gets really interesting from a tech perspective. You'd think newer is always better, right? Well, not in this case. The investigator has a new Kinect that's brilliant for mapping stick figures, but they're deliberately planning to use the old Xbox 360 version, one they call shit and unreliable, for one very specific reason. It has a much better infrared laser grid. That tells you they're making choices based on field experience, not just what's newest. Okay, the gear is set. The motivation is crystal clear. That broken camera. So it's next. We get to the main event, Section 3, the strategy of provocation. This investigator isn't asking nicely for a sign. They are demanding it, using aggression as a tool to try and force a reaction. And they don't ease into it. The session kicks off with this incredibly direct question. It's not, is anyone here? It's an accusation. It immediately frames the entity as guilty, as something that owes them an explanation. So what happens when you ask a direct question and get nothing but silence? You escalate. The tactic shifts to straight-up insults, trying to get under the entity's, well, skin, I guess. The whole point seems to be to provoke an angry and hopefully more obvious response. And this is the peak of that whole aggressive strategy. The investigator literally puts an object right on the edge of a table and issues a dare, a direct challenge. It's the classic schoolyard taunt, right? You think you're so tough? Prove it. Knock this off, you coward. But then, just as that aggression hits its absolute peak, the entire vibe just shifts. In Section 4, we're going to see this incredible pivot from taunts to trust, and it reveals a strategy that's way more complicated than just yelling into the dark. This sudden change really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? If the whole goal was just to piss off the entity, why stop now? What's the real endgame here? And bam, there it is, the pivot. In one sentence, the investigator completely flips the script. The aggression is gone, and instead, they offer an olive branch. The whole interaction goes from a fight to a potential collaboration. They're even offering to help. It's a total 180. So what we're actually seeing is this very deliberate two-step method. You could almost call it a paranormal good cop, bad cop routine. First, you provoke. You use insults, you challenge it, you do whatever you can to get its attention and force some kind of interaction. Then, you immediately pacify. You offer to help, you build trust, and you open the door for a real conversation. And all of this leads us to our final section, building a paranormal narrative, because it becomes very clear that what we've just watched isn't a one-off encounter. Nope, it's just one chapter in a much, much longer story. This one line is the key that unlocks the whole thing. It reveals there's a history here. The investigator and this entity have been at this for a while, and apparently the entity has been getting better at telling its story. This totally reframes the spirit from some random monster into an actual character in an unfolding drama. And this is the big takeaway. The ultimate goal here isn't just to catch a door slamming on camera or a spooky voice on a recorder. The investigator is playing the long game. They are trying to document a whole narrative as it unfolds over time. So ultimately, after breaking down this one 5-minute ghost hunt, we're left with a much bigger question. When you mix technology, provocation, and this willingness to build a long-term relationship, are you just documenting a truth that's already there, or are you actually helping to create the story yourself? Something to think about.